Monkey Learns. Today is September 16, 2020, and we'll be covering a post from the SharePoint Reddit from today. The title is I want to begin with SharePoint, but I have questions. Hey everyone, I work for a small company. We want to build a external facing customer portal. My idea is to have content compartmentalized at the customer level. They reference WordPress and they're essentially asking if SharePoint can be public facing. If so, how? Well, first off, is it possible, and if so, how? It used to be the case that it was commonplace for SharePoint to be published publicly for some organizations, anyways. With SharePoint Online, which I assume that's what the OP is here, is SharePoint Online. Um, Not necessarily the case anymore. Microsoft has kind of rebranded or branded SharePoint as being the internal solution for team collaboration on content. That goes with, notwithstanding, I mean, external sharing is possible. There's two major hurdles if you go the SharePoint route. Another viable route is PowerApps Portals. PowerApps Portals does solve, and Microsoft does promote PowerApps Portals as being a external facing customer portal solution. To stand it up is it's not hard, but a SharePoint admin per se is fully capable of learning it, but it doesn't align with your day-to-day responsibilities. You're going to be capable of learning it, but it's going to take time and energy to learn it. Um, but that is Microsoft's uh, preferred way to handle an external client portal. You could use SharePoint though, and like I said a few seconds ago, there's going to be two major hurdles, and those hurdles are simply configuration of the environment to accommodate external access, and actually inviting the external users, and having a seamless user experience for those users. I'll cover configuration first. Your globally speaking, you have to have the environment set up to allow for external sharing. Then furthermore, at the site level, you can be more restrictive even so. Much like US law, how states' laws have to be more restrictive than the Fed and or equal to. Same with SharePoint. The global setting has a bar of um, what external access is possible, and then the site level can be more restrictive, but it cannot be least restrictive. I'll show you that setting real quick. So over here on my screen, we've got the SharePoint Admin Center. You click on Sharing on the left-hand side. As we all know, OneDrive and SharePoint are kind of one and the same. Here on the screen, you can adjust the permissions for SharePoint. Most permissive is at top. This is like anonymous links, essentially. Your most restrictive is the bottom. Only people in your organization can access SharePoint sites. So essentially, what I meant when I was trying to delineate between site and global settings, if your global setting is existing guests, then at the site level, you can only do existing guests or people in your organization. You can't go up. You can't go up the scale. So you only go down in the context of this screen. Once you choose your setting, well, first off, there's more options here. If you do, so this is like your default share link. So if users share content to one another, then you've got let's see here, external sharing settings. You can share by domain. So when you check the box, you essentially get you can block or allow certain domains. So it's a whitelist or blacklist kind of thing. And there's other settings here. It's kind of tucked away though. It's a subtle drop down, at least with the current user experience. There's quite a few settings in here. Just make sure you hit save when you're done, otherwise it won't save. So that covers the first hurdle. The second hurdle is inviting the users themselves. There's two popular ways to add external users that I've commonly used and my coworkers have commonly used. That's either adding the external user directly within the site or library itself, and then also creating a guest user in Azure Active Directory. Guest user is the type of user for the external user, as opposed to, say, an external contact. It has to be a guest user. If they're not a guest user and they're, say, a mail contact, and you add them to SharePoint, the permissions are going to be, they're not going to have access. It needs to be a guest user. Now, that said, if you add the user directly through the site or the library, you type their email address into the to field and you hit send. Azure Active Directory adds them to AD as a guest user automatically. But if you're in Active Directory itself and you're going to create the user account manually, make sure you toggle the option for guest user. In fact, we'll navigate there real quick. So I'm going to go to the Admin Center. Then I'm going to go to Azure Active Directories, Admin Center. In here, I'm going to go to Users, click New Guest User right here, and then you just simply add their name, email address, first, last, any other metadata you need to add about them. Once they're created, what it'll do is send a message to them. This personal message box is what shows up in an email to them, along with a link to like essentially the app's home screen, kind of like this. Damn, kind of like this screen. It'll kind of route them to a screen like this, and they changed this on me too. This screen right here. There we go. They'll get routed to a screen like this basically, and it'll show them what resources they have access to. Because in some environments, it's possible that they have access to, say, Azure resources as well. Say like a VM or something, and it'll show up here. But anyways, in this personal message box, either whether you do it in Azure Active Directory or in SharePoint directly, or even OneDrive, I recommend that you publish to them. This is a character restricted box. So maybe have a public facing resource for the external user to be able to look at. Call it a private YouTube channel, or say kind of tucked away site or page on your public facing site that describes how they can get access to your environment. Because the user, when they get invited, they have to have a registered account with Microsoft. And the reason it has to be registered is AD has to be able to pick up their account, so you have positive control over their access to your environment. If their account has Microsoft licensing, then it's obviously registered with Microsoft. They just log into the account, boom, done. But if say it's like a Gmail account and they've never accessed a Microsoft environment before, they don't use their Gmail account for purchasing Microsoft licensing personally, like say the Office suite, then their email address isn't going to be registered. So they're going to have to register it. What I would do is create a Gmail account and then go through the process of manually inviting yourself to your own tenant and kind of walk through and screenshot and record those steps and maybe publish a tutorial on how they can gain access. We always do it from a professional standpoint because it can be, for the average user, it can be a little bit tedious or confusing rather to gain access the first time. And then a very common troubleshooting issue you'll have when you stand up an external facing client portal is you'll have external users reporting that they have access denied. It's usually because they have to log in first. So just a matter of going to, if you're on a commercial tenant, portal.office.com, they'll get routed to the login screen, and then they just log into their newly registered Microsoft account, which is the same email account you invited originally to your SharePoint assets. So I hope that fully covers this post. Actually, there's one more thing. One of the requirements here was customer level compartmentalization of content. Once again, I assume this is SharePoint Online, so I can't say that they should be necessarily flattened at this point. Everyone's still kind of going through the whole flattening of sites still. I'm sure that'll be the case for the following years to come, assuming Microsoft doesn't change the mentality on us. If it's SharePoint Online, though, I would just simply drop into the SharePoint Admin Center, create some sites, one site for each customer, and I would compartmentalize customer access at the site level so that you don't inadvertently give the wrong customer access to the wrong customer site. I definitely would not do folder and file level permissions, even for the same customer, among their own employees. It's just administratively nightmarish, and I don't know why you would do it. Furthermore, at the library level, that would be fine to to say create unique permissions among employees of the same organization. Say like a senior leadership at a customer company versus subordinates needing to see a different level of content. But I would definitely compartmentalize permissions between sites at the customer level. That should be everything for this post. Let's drop into this post and help this person out, or comment on the video here, and hopefully we can get some some further clearance and guidance on this matter. It's definitely a problem, or not a problem necessarily, but it's definitely something brought up all the time. How do I use SharePoint to be an external facing client portal? Which is why Microsoft has come out with portals as being the solution. Um, it's I've seen prototypes; they look cool. They're much like vendor login portals that you've probably seen before. But SharePoint's something that we all here know, and it doesn't cost extra, and you don't have to hire someone or learn Power Apps to do it. But it requires a little bit of labor managing all the permissions. Um, so, yep. Well, look forward to talking to you guys on the Reddit, and have a nice day.